All right, all right. Let's make sure we're up on Rumble. Up on Rumble. We're gonna rumble. Please wait till my video finishes processing. Jeez Louise. Why is it still? What is going on, Rumble? You gonna get me on here or what? Hold on just a second, amigos. All right, there we go. All right, so the FOMC meeting. All right. Yeah, I don't care. Who cares, man? We have serious people in government who will definitely not screw this up. Yeah, exactly. I was just reading about. I want to share with you guys something before we get started. Rumble is still there. We go. Okay, sweet. All right, good. Right now we're up on Rumble. We're up on YouTube. All right. Anyone on Rumble yet? Let's take a look here. Can't tell. Looks like we're up on Rumble. All right. It looks like we're good. All right, good. All right, sweet. So I was going to share. You want to see something funny? There we go. Cool. You want to see something funny, Johnny G, and the Get Fresh crew? I'm going to show you guys something. Hold on just a second. And we're going to answer some questions. Hold on just a second. Contributors. There we go. I'll show you how good of the good hands we're in if you're ready. Hey, Bruce. We got Bruce, John G in the house. Rumble's up. Anyone here? Anyone? All right. I'm going to show you this article right here. Y'all see this? So this is our second in command at the CDC now. This real great guy. So he was the head of the Maine CDC, and he got when Rochelle Lewinsky wanted to change structure of the CDC because it's a clusterfuck. She said we're going to bring some new people, some new blood in here, and she brought this clown on there. All right, so what's this guy's background? In her first major public step towards a promise of reforming the CDC, old Rochelle Walensky has chosen Nirav Shah to serve as her second in command. As her principal deputy, he'll be focusing on communication issues for the agency. It's a remarkable decision as Shah's background demonstrates a staggering inability to effectively manage or communicate in the field of public health. Following his election of governor in 2014, governor of Illinois, Bruce Rauner nominated Shah to serve as the director of the Illinois Department of Public Health. Was he Republican? I think he was. I think Bruce Rauner was a Republican, man. Anyone from Illinois, was Bruce Rauner a Republican? I think he was. Anyway. His nomination papers listed only two. So this guy, this winner right here. I mean, look at this guy. Dude. Come on. I mean, look, does he just? I mean, he's a. Oh, you're just saying because he's brown? No, because he doesn't do anything. This guy hasn't done anything. So he only listed two jobs in his career. As one as an attorney, and the other as an economist. Oh, he had a fellowship at the Soros Foundation. Oh. He had no medical license, was not a practicing physician, and his name does not appear as a contributor on any scholarly study. Perhaps most significantly, he never managed an organization that rivaled the size of a government agency. I mean, he was literally, I guarantee, he's a young global leader. Probably World Economic Forum, but Soros Foundation. It's the whole thing. This is what is going on in Silicon Valley Bank. Where it's just you promote people to the highest level of incompetence based on skin color, who they sack up with, and all that. It's crazy. On August 21st, 2015, Shah received word from the Illinois Veterans Home at Quincy. The second resident had been diagnosed with Legionnaire's disease, which is an infection of the lungs caused by bacteria found in contaminated water. Yeah, we probably want to look at that because you're the CDC. Though Shah assured the director of Illinois Veterans Affairs that his team was investigating the outbreak, the Illinois state auditor later concluded that the staff did not go on site to investigate. until 3 days later, after the second case was confirmed. By then, the outbreak was in full force, with 10 residents being taken to the hospital, and all buildings now have someone affected. Stop it right now. You can jump up here. Stop it. On the second day of the outbreak, while other state officials were raising alarms and pushing for immediate action, Shah downplayed the importance of the problem, saying it's not unprecedented or atypical. As if to dampen the growing concern, he wrote, "Fortunately, Legionnaire's disease is one we know how to diagnose and treat." The following day, staff in Shah's office identified a cluster of 5 new cases, but he still failed to act. On the evening of day 5, it dawned on him how out of touch he was. "I honestly didn't realize," he wrote in an email to a staffer, "that so many other residents and employees at the facility are ill." He still refused to call the U.S. CDC for help, which wouldn't matter anyway because they're run by morons, saying, but by the time he finally relented and called the U.S. CDC, 73 people were infected and 4 people died. By the time the outbreak subsided, 13 veterans residents at the home were dead because of that guy's inaction. Investigations by the Illinois Public Radio, the Chicago Tribune, Illinois State Auditor, and criminal inquiry by the Attorney General focused on Shah's inaction during the first hours and days of the outbreak. Shah was anything but forthcoming during the investigation. At first, he refused to even appear before the legislative committees. He did not respond to emails or notes, even telling state legislatures that they would have to use the state's FOA, Freedom of Information Act, to turn over any documents. This is the guy who Walensky chose to be the head of communications. Auditors determined that there was a limited communication between Shah, their version of CDC, and the veterans' home staff. As more and more information became public, major political figures in Illinois called for Shah's resignation. This included members of both parties, including their 2 U.S. senators, Dick Durbin and Tammy Duckworth. They want his butt fired. Republican state senators told him, "Sir, you disgust me." Before telling him, "I've called for your resignation. I call for it again. If you won't provide it, I'll call the governor to relieve you." The Democrat state senator told Shah, "Your best is not good enough. I'm tired of excuses. The fact of the matter is you are inept and you should resign." Duckworth, a big lib, Director Shah's response to this tragedy reflects the height of irresponsibility and negligence. It's time for him to go. In the end, the state of Illinois agreed to pay millions to the families of those who died in the outbreak. But Rauner refused to fire him despite his pivotal role in the scandal. But this was not the last time that Shah be involved and tangled with veterans over health issues. In 2016, Cook County judge issued a ruling in a case brought by an Illinois veteran who argued that the state's medical marijuana policy should include treatment for PTSD. A 10-member advisory board voted unanimously to allow the change, but Shah rejected the proposal, the opinion. He's licensed to practice law in Illinois at the time, engaged in blatant denial of procedural due process. Shah was licensed to practice law. The judge wrote, Director Shah went beyond the rule to conduct his own investigation, add his own evidence to the record, and rendered his decision based upon that investigation. Neither the department's rules nor the act itself empower the director to conduct his own investigation. And thanks in part to Shah's great ineptitude at managing government, Rauner lost his re-election bid in 2018. Did anyone say if he's a Republican or not? Yeah. Anyway, I think he is, because 2014 was a Republican wave. But no worries. In a press release announcing Shah's appointment of the director of the Maine CDC, Gene Lambrew, the newly confirmed commissioner of the Department of Health and Human Services, mentioned his time in Illinois, where he implemented key initiatives to address the state's opioid crisis, reduce maternal and infant mortality, reduce childhood lead poisoning. The introduction made it clear that Lambrew made little to no effort to vet Shah, since it singles out 2 of his most prominent failures in Illinois. Crazy. Indeed, Shah's record of failure is so egregious as to call in question the judgment of anyone who would pick him for an important role in public health. Had she simply searched Shah's name on the internet with the word infants, Lambrew or Walensky, for that matter, would have seen the reporting on a 7 months long investigation by the Chicago Tribune with such headlines as "How Illinois Bureaucracy Robbed Parents of a Chance to Save Their Children from a Deadly Disease." Parents of dead, dying children blast public health director for newborn testing failure. In a tribute announcing Shah's departure, Maine Governor Janet Shills claimed that Shah delivered the unvarnished truth, except he didn't. He didn't do this. From his first public appearance in Maine, his statements conflicted with the most credible sources. During his introduction to the legislature, he was asked about the Quincy veterans tragedy and told the committee that my agency notified the facility in 27 minutes. It's a complete lie, but no one cares if the left does. It's crazy. From that initial meeting with legislatures, his daily briefings during the pandemic, he regularly provided false information about Maine and COVID-19. And in March 9, 2021, he informed viewers of his daily briefing that Maine had gone 30 days without a single nursing home death. A search of public federal data takes less than 2 minutes, however, showed that was not true. Maine lost 6 residents during that time. On another occasion, when a reporter asked a challenging question about data that showed Maine was doing poorly in his response to the virus, Shah stumbled and stuttered. Ultimately, he said, as you know, one of my rules is never, ever, ever speak definitively on anything. That's what this guy said. And he's second in command of the CDC. Never, ever, ever speak definitively on anything. If the people of Maine and now the nation as a whole in the throes of a worldwide pandemic cannot look to senior officials to state, and remember, this is what stupid Janet Schill says. Shah delivered to us the unvarnished truth. He actually said he'll never speak definitively on anything. And then there's a time in September 2021, a reporter asked him why Maine led the nation in growth of COVID cases during a particular 2-week period. Shah said, with a bizarre theory about how a hurricane in Louisiana had caused the top 5 states in that category to stop testing and fall off the list, leaving room for Maine to jump up. Another easy statistical search showed that Maine was never in the category he cited, that the 5 states did not have a demonstrable drop-off in testing. He just imagined it. Everything about his answer he just made up. It's insane. He just made it up. He also misinformed audience on national TV when discussing a Maine wedding reception they labeled as a super spreader event. He got the facts wrong from the start. 1 week before Governor Shills announced her authoritarian and disastrous mandates, Shah's soon-to-be boss, Director Walensky, appeared on CNN and admitted the vaccines were not effective at preventing people who were infected from spreading the virus to others. What they can't do, said Walensky, is prevent transmission. Seemingly unaware of this, Governor Shills justified her mandate by claiming the opposite was true. With this requirement, we are protecting the health of care workers, patients, blah, blah, blah. And then Shah clown said scientific data show that vaccination is our best protection against all strains of the virus. Anyway, the whole thing is, this guy's just, it's insane, man. It's insane. Not a single journalist in Maine has reported that Shah's wife, Cara Pala Mountain, has worked as a vice president of a marketing company that makes COVID-19 testing devices. A coincidence? Minute Molecular, a spinoff company of Northwestern University, even got $21 million federal grant to provide the testing devices. Shah's financial disclosures with the state of Maine don't reveal how much money his household made off selling COVID-19 testing equipment. And there's no evidence that Maine purchased any of the equipment. But its new federal position may open the door for lucrative opportunities. The point is, we're promoting this guy simply because he's got brown skin. He's obviously dumb as rocks. And this is the issue when we go this woke stuff. These guys are just not very bright people. We're being led by idiots, man. There's no other way around that. And if you think this economy being led by idiots is going to be strong, you're nuts. I mean, we are not led by the best and the brightest. No, and don't get me wrong. Fauci's a white guy. He's stupid too. We all know this. I mean, so just don't say, oh, you're just saying that because he's bright. No. Francis Collins, white guy. I'm not going to say he's stupid, but we know he should be an orange as well. The issue is this is what happens in bureaucracy. There's no one's held accountable and they fail upwards. Unlike small business, for instance, or community banks. Community banks are told, hey, just do what we say. We'll bail you out. Oh, no, sorry. It's crazy. It's insane. And I do think that, but this is what a clown, Joe. That's the guy number 2 in charge of the CDC. It's crazy. Crazy. Oh, it's not red versus blue at all. It's just we trust. We just it's all. It's not a red versus blue thing, because red and blue are both of the same, two wings of the different wings of the same bird, though. That's what it is. They're all advancing their cause, which is to move to make government bigger so they can all get rich. I mean, we know the Democrats. We know what the Democrats want. They're already wealthy, so they want power. The Republicans, who have gained the power by going through the various, the Massachusetts Republican Party and going up and up and up, they want money now. You see what I'm saying? The Democrats are wealthy because all the rich people are Democrats, and they all give to their, trustafarians and whatnot. I mean, all these people are just wealthy beyond insane. And that why Republicans don't, it's the weirdest thing. Republicans, we don't want to tax the wealthy. You're taxing your freaking competitors, my friends. I mean, this is what Democrats do. Republicans say no, and then fools will say, well, if they tax, George Soros or whoever, I don't care who it is, Tom Steyer, they're going to eventually tax me. So it's mind-boggling. Anyway, point being is these Republicans, most of them, they if you follow my man Turtle Boy over at tbdailynews.com, he took down Tom Mountain. Tom Mountain is not a mountain. He's a mountain of a man, just a big fat guy. But Tom Mountain was a scumbag, second in command in the Massachusetts GOP. And he got there just by basically, kissing ass. Dude. He's not a political ideologue at all. He just says, of the two parties, what's my best bet to gain power is to join the Republican Party because I'm an ugly white guy. The Democrats don't want white guys, so I got to go to the Republican Party. He has no ideologue. He's like, I'm there for the job. And I want to get, make money and get chicks. Anyway, so he was the second in command, getting ready to be the first in command once Charlie Baker left Massachusetts, this guy. And if it wasn't for a Turtle Boy, Aidan Kearney, who I've interviewed, he would be the number one guy in Massachusetts GOP. And guess what happens? Well, by hook or by crook, you get promoted because, Joe Biden wins. And now you're the director Shah of the Maine CDC. Now you're just in the right place at the right time. But you're not there because you have any skills. You just happen to massage enough egos to move your head, go through the political realm. And the Republicans are just, look, dude, I worked for the Republican Party in Arizona, a state mine inspector office, and I campaigned on behalf of John McCain. I campaigned on behalf of John Kyle. Yeah, I think it was Kyle. And what's his name? The old guy, Jeff Flake, when he was running for Congress. And I was pretty active in the Arizona Republican Party. We go right down there on 24th Street, right off of Camelback. There's an Indian school on 24th Street where we had our fundraising thing. I was very active down there, which is how I got the job in the Republican Party. They didn't ask me anything about my pro-life stance or anything like that. I just said, here's a job, and you happen to be an R, so come on over, Rover. So it had nothing to do with ideological stance, or it literally had nothing to do with any of that. I just said, you have an R, so we are in charge. We're going to hire you. I literally could have been a Democrat the day before. They didn't care. The point being is you start the operatings of the Republican GOP, and you recognize all these guys are just political grifters. The Democrats, the same thing, but the Democrats are explicitly anti-white, so you're not going to be white guys need not apply. The Democrats, you're going to have all these grifters, white guys like Tom Mountain on the Republicans coming in because they don't have any home in the Democratic Party. And they don't care about the country. They don't care. They just care about money and chicks, dude. That's all there is to it. Now, I don't know about women, like what women, what they do. I guess they want money too. I don't know. But as a guy, you're just like, oh man, I can be the head of the Massachusetts GOP, and maybe there'll be a young intern who want to come over here. I mean, look, no different. No one's going to want to get with Bill Clinton, other than the fact he was president of the United States. Dude, the guy's ugly and stupid. No one, you see what I'm saying? So a young intern, Monica Lewinsky, fell for his charm. Crazy. Bill Clinton was just sitting there on a freaking street bench, and he said, "Hey, Monica Lewinsky, let's get your blue dress on." She would have slapped him, and rightly so. We all know this, man. Yeah, and Georgia the same way. Georgia the same way, Jill. 100%. It's the same thing. In fact, I was reading my man in Arkansas, Jeff Childers on COVID and Coffee, COVID and Coffee, or Coffee and COVID blog. Jeff Childers was writing in Arkansas. They're stalling a bill to have no racial preferences. Basically, Proposition 209 from California, and it's just the same thing. It's like the Republicans who. To be a high-ranking guy in politics means you got to kiss a lot of butt. And if you don't kiss a lot of butt, it's going to be tough. That's why I made Trump so wonderful. And look, I got my issues with Trump. I mean, he's still, come on, man. I'm just keeping your pants, Trump. Gosh. But be it as it may, that's what made him so great, because he broke through the iterations of the backside kissing of the Jeb Bushes of the world using their names and whatnot. Yeah, but it's not going to happen, Marie. It's not. I mean, the establishment is too strong. Remember, it's the same bird. They're just two different wings of the same bird. And the bird is going for one reason and one reason only. The existence of the same bird is Guy Stone. I have not heard of Guy Stone, Carson. Ooh, I like it though. No, but I'll look it up. My man Carson over here on Rumble said, "Have I heard of Guidestone as faith-based investing?" I had not. So that's good. So by the way, if you have ideas on faith-based investing, biblically responsible investing, I have a couple ideas, but it's been a while since I've been involved in that. I could probably go back to Kingdom Advisors website and see what's going on down there. But if you have some thoughts on me, like some guy Hodges said, "Hey, look at Timothy funds." I've been familiar with Timothy funds for quite some time, but I haven't looked at them for a while. I'm not familiar with Guidestone, at least I don't think I am. But if you have thoughts on biblically responsible investing, let me know. I just had to point out too, a couple of you guys were making comments like, "Well, Josh, why not just invest in the index? The index essentially. So instead of going to Wellington and supporting the woke stuff, why not just invest in the indices?" And I get that, man. That's not a bad way to do it. So I hope you all would know what I'm talking about. So essentially, we're trying to get out of Wellington Investment Company because they suck, which is sad because I got a book on retire with the Wellington Fund. Hey Marie, you said you're reading this, by the way. Hope you like it. If you don't like it, don't let me know. I don't want to hear it. So I wrote a book on retire with Wellington Fund, and sucks that because Wellington Investment Management Company just sucks. There's no other way around that. And so a lot of people say, "Well, just go to the indices." The indices, I get it, 100%. The issue is, here's the issue: you still got your money at Vanguard, Fidelity. You still got your money at Schwab. Think about if, I don't know, freaking 100,000 Christians with just say 50,000 on each move their portfolios from Vanguard, Schwab, Fidelity, regardless of the index, and went to a firm like Ave Maria Mutual Funds or Timothy Funds or something like that, or Guidestone. Well, think about how big that would be in terms of saying, yes, we are going to support people who think like we do from a biblical perspective. You see what I'm saying? Think how strong so we're diluted at Vanguard. We're diluted at Fidelity. We're diluted at Schwab. So they're going to pay attention to the people who carry the big bucks, which are a bunch of evil Satanists, which we are not part of. But in mass, if we all did something like that, and I'm just spouting out there, you could be making a statement that we're sick of this crap. And so then you hire a firm like Guidestone, as Carson was saying. And you say, okay, we're going to give Guidestone, $100 million of assets under management. And what Guidestone will do is they're going to sit there and the board of directors, they're going to look at what kind of crap they're promoting. And then they're going to say, look, dude, we got the weight of $100 million behind us, or whatever it is. I know that doesn't sound like much. I grant you, but trust me, dude. I've had a couple of people leave Vanguard the last couple of weeks, and Vanguard does not look like, well, you didn't complain about their wokeness. I guarantee you didn't complain about their wokeness. I guarantee you just simply complained about their freaking performance, and I don't want to hear that crap. I have another guy too says, emailed me the other day. He's like, "Well, I'm glad you talk about Wellington as one of my worst performing funds." So, like, that's not the way you do it, dude. That's basing your investment decisions on a good question, Marie. That's a good question. Let's take a look. Basing your investment decisions on your recently worst performing funds is idiotic, my friends. That's bad. So what you do. All right, so Patrick, hey, what up, Doug? Did you complain about Wellington because of performance or about wokeness? Because I don't want to hear about performance, dude. I don't want to hear it. If it's about performance, that's silly because things ebb and flow. But anyway, so going back again to investing 101. If you're now sitting there saying, am I not on Rumble now? Yeah, I'm still there. If I'm sitting there, I'm not talking to this guy. I'm just saying at the end of the day, I'm going to look at my mutual funds. I got 5 funds. 4 are doing great. One's not doing so great. I'm going to sell the one that's not doing so great and put it into the other 4. That would validate the Dow bar study which says people chasing returns. Now, I don't buy that study for 2 seconds flat, but it makes sense because I do this on occasion. Well, that fund's not doing. This is what they used to say about the G fund in the TSP just a couple of years ago. G fund sucks. I'm putting everything with C fund. Said you're going to rue the day, man. You're going to rue the day. So people are asking, should they leave? Look, you got to do what you got to do. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, where I'm going. So my man says, he was saying is Wellington, and what is good? I don't know. I don't know what good was. So my thought. So I haven't done enough research. So I can't tell you guys what to do. You guys are gonna have to do what you guys do. My thinking hat, Tammy Joe, is that I'm thinking that if these companies are going to be woke, and there's companies that aren't woke, I want to be with the non-woke companies, if that makes sense. And if the non-woke companies are doing things that advance non-wokeism, that's a winning scenario. And I want to be part of that. If that means I got to pay a higher fee, okay. That's the price of admission. I'm okay with that. If that means I got to freaking potentially might have underperformance, again, this is what we talked about the other day. I'm okay with that. But and when we looked at Ave Maria mutual funds and some of the Timothy funds, those two things weren't mutually exclusive necessarily. Now they could be. I mean, anytime you're limiting your research to a certain group of funds, inherently you're not having the whole realm of the investment world. So that would inherently mean you have less opportunity to gain money. I get that. What I'm trying to go back is more biblical principle that says, look, dude, we shouldn't get money for the sake of money. That should not be our priority. Actually, my man, I don't think he's on here. He said a good point because I was reading about Mark. What did I text my brother today? Let me show you guys something here. Hold on a second, because we're talking about the Sabbath the other day, and my man Ed from North Carolina made a good. I think he might have done it actually on my locals channel. He made a good point. I'm going to share with you something here. Right here. He said, "Are we maybe make an idol out of the Sabbath?" I said, "That's actually a really good point." And so what Jesus says, right here. So let's go to Bible Gateway. Go to NIV because that's what I read, NIV. So Mark 3:4, yeah. Then Jesus asked him, which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save life or to kill? All right, so basically, my man Ed from North Carolina said, are we making an idol out of the Sabbath solely for the sake of the Sabbath? I said, man, good point, because Jesus says right there, which is lawful to do on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil. Thus, if you're doing good on the Sabbath, that's not you're not violating the law, if that makes sense. So don't make the Sabbath an idol, is what Jesus is saying right there, in my opinion. And I think that's right. That doesn't mean you go and you dig your ditches for pay. That just means if you're doing good work on the Sabbath, that's commendable. Anyway, so where I'm going with this here is I think at the end of the day, Tammy Joe, is we got to start saying, well, how do I take a stand? And I think one of the ways we take a stand is by acknowledging, obviously, God is God. God's not saying they're like, well, Tammy Joe, because you didn't invest in Vanguard, I'm not going to give you a greater return. Or Tammy Joe, because you invested in righteous funds, I'm going to give you a better return. No, we just got to be faithful that God is going to his will reign supreme, man, if that makes sense. And as such, I don't think at the end of the day, by us investing in Vanguard or Ave Maria mutual funds is going to be all that in a bag of chips, the overall situation of the world at hand. However, I have a moral disagreement with supporting wokeism because it's evil. And if that means I got to take my money from woke companies and put it into companies that might not perform as well, I'm about ready to make that switch. And that means you should too if you want to, but you don't have to. And recognizing that anytime you're limiting your investment parameters, you're inherently minimizing your potential growth opportunities. It doesn't mean it will. But I think at the end of the day, if I'm sitting there before the big guy upstairs, trying to get those pearly gates, the big guy says, hey, man, what did you do when the woke evil was happening? What did you do? Well, I had to stay invested in Wellington, Lord, because I had to make money. And then we saw, what was I just reading today, too, about worry? It was in Jeremiah. I was reading it just in Jeremiah, but if even on your 7th year, if there's a I can't remember, Jeremiah 17 something. I'm drawing a blank. Even if there's a year of drought, do not worry. I'm drawing a blank the exact because I have my Bible right here, but it's like Jeremiah 17:10, I think is what it was. Thanks, babe. 17. Actually, let me just pull it up here. It's Jeremiah 17:10. Hold on a sec. We're gonna pull up Jeremiah 17:10 or 18:10. Let's see. How dare you talk about the Bible? Keep your conspiracy theories to yourself. I, the Lord, this actually is interesting. This is this actually was different because this just again shows you faith not deeds. I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve. Yikes! Yeah, we definitely aren't gonna be judged on our deeds. To reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve. Anyways, born again bride, the lady on, I think she's a lady. She has a lady as an avatar, so I assume she is. She really got me set on a good path, dude. She said, I think you read outside. I think you read a lot. Maybe you should focus on the Bible a little bit more. I'll never forget that. Was such a great comment for me to hear because she was 100% right. 100% right. Carson said, I try the best to support my believing brothers and sisters by giving my bit. Yeah, 100%, man. So trying to do the same with investments, 100%, Carson. Carson says he tries his best to support his believing brothers and sisters by giving my business to them over others. And so trying to do the same with my investments. Absolutely. Let's read here real quick. Yeah, this is what I was reading. So we're looking at Jeremiah. Yeah, sweet. So right here, curse is the one who trusts in man. Fauci, who draws strength of mere flesh, whose heart turns away from the Lord. That person will be like a bush in the wastelands. They will not see prosperity when it comes. They can dwell in their parched places of the desert, in a salt land where no one lives. But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by the water. That right here. This is it. Yes, yes, yes. Blessed be the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots to the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought. Right there. It has no worries in a year of drought. Side note, I think the economy is not doing great, my friends. I think I'm a good gauge of the economy. I can see my emails for people wanting consultations dropping. It's very interesting. You can see that. And when you see it, you're like, I'm basically like a week out. I was talking to a guy yesterday. There have been times I'm freaking 6 to 8 weeks out, you know what I'm saying? But now I'm like a week out. It's nuts. And I said, whoa, I haven't been that short on, clients for a couple months, for a while. And then we know some other people are small business owners who are, their businesses are suffering too. It's very interesting, actually. And I think the drought is coming. I don't know. It doesn't mean you do anything differently with your investments other than what we're talking about. Get more biblically biased, 100%. Same group preference. But I can see it. So I talked to enough people like, yeah, business is slowing down. You see the layoffs across the board in tech. We talked to some entrepreneurs, small business owners. Their businesses are slowing down. I can see my own. I see it in my own thing. I remember I was talking to this guy yesterday. In 2021, like August of 2020, maybe it was something like that. But 2021, I think it was 2021. I had like 200 names that people emailed me, wanted me to do business with me. I said, I'm gonna have to get with you in the 2022. So in 2022 came around, I emailed those 200 and probably 15% of them got with me to do business because that was when the beginning of the market going down. And I said, wow. And I knew that was bad. I said, ooh, this could be bad. It turned out 2022 turned out to be a pretty good year. But I remember that. I was like, ooh, that could be bad. Because I remember I was so busy, I had no chance to meet these people. And here we are right now. It's like, whoa, that's, it's worrisome. That's anytime you're self-employed is worrisome. You see what I'm saying? God's going to make God will do what God does. So there's nothing I can do about it. But it's interesting. You hear enough anecdotal evidence plus your own personal evidence. You're like, yeah, something's slowing down, man. Something's slowing down. Not sure what to make of it. I don't know. Usually the winter times are pretty slow. Not in winter anymore. So it's spring. Spring is usually pretty busy. Spring and fall are usually pretty busy months. The summers are usually slow, and then right around Thanksgiving until basically the middle of January is usually pretty slow in my business. So I was like, whoa, that's pretty interesting. We'll see how it shakes out. Of course, I worry. I always worry about money. I always worry about money. When I was younger and desperate for a job, I turned down a great opportunity as a cable installer because I didn't want to be responsible for teens seeing porn at their home. Man, dude, that's dude, 100%, dude, 100% Karsten. All right, so what the heck were we talking about? Oh, let's look at American funds. So Bree said our American funds woke. So American funds, I think it's Capital Group is their Capital Group. Capital Group is their pornography. It's just there's nothing good that comes from pornography. In fact, just reading the good book, the filthiness, Jesus, Lord, the prophets, they talk about the filthiness, the sexual immorality. In fact, I was just reading about James today because my brother and I are having a debate on Paul. And I said, it's funny because, James, when he's talking to Paul, said, Paul, what the hell are you doing? You're turning people against the word. Again, you're turning people against, the law. And then James said, no. We got to tell people not to eat the meat that's been sacrificed to idols, all right, and abstain from sexual immorality. Not immortality, immorality. So James said literally to Paul, no, we got to tell people not to, as almost like a middle of the road thing. Said, Paul, don't be telling people not to follow any kind of the law. Tell people not to engage in sexual immorality and to refrain from eating the food that was sacrificed to idols. And that's where Paul and Peter had a falling out, by the way. Very interesting, man. When you start seeing it a little bit different, like, now Acts starts to make a lot more sense when you start to see the issues. Because my brother and I are debating this back and forth because he's a big Paul guy. I say, I don't know, man. I don't know. And we're, it's this interesting dialogue that we're having. My sister, who's on our chat, she's muted, or not muted, but she's not saying anything because she doesn't want to take sides. I don't know that for sure. I imagine she would take the side of my brother. My sister and my brother, so I was with my dad in the DC area. My sister and my brother were left to fend themselves with my mom up in Maine when they were, in high school and in middle school and whatnot. So they have a very deep relationship, much more than I have with either my brother or my sister, because they needed each other. They did. They really needed each other, and as such, they tried by fire and they survived, which is great. All right, so here's American funds, Marie. I think Marie said that. So let's take a gander. We gotta go here. Present. I just wish you stop talking about the things you want to talk about and talk about the things I want to talk about. Like, what should I put my $50,000? And we're gonna get some questions here in just a second. All right, so here we go. Let's see what American Funds is saying here. Your location in the United States. All right, so we're going to just look, and we're going to see how woke these guys are. All right. Okay. So here we go. Let's go to About Us, Marie. Marie, you still on board? You still tracking here? You still tracking? All right. So here we go. So here we go on About Us. So who are we? All right. All right. I don't see anything so far. That looks okay. Meet our people. Okay. That's kind of weird. Wow. They're very diverse. It's diverse if you have no white people, by the way. That's kind of strange. Sustainability strives to have a sustainable. Okay, it's just that just because you use the word sustainable in of itself, that doesn't mean it's bad necessarily. They're seeking to have a sustainable, positive impact of investors through our investment approach and our people. Okay. Yeah. Well, here they go. The planet. Oh boy. There we go. American funds. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Diversity. What we believe. Okay. Yeah, it's just that whole thing is just so freaking stupid, man. Well, that sucks. That's painful to see. You're against diversity? No, it's so freaking stupid. You know it. I know it. We all know it. It's what's happening here, and we just saw it. Just you saw it with your own very eyes, dude. In America, look at this. Of all these people, they got one white guy, and he's probably let's put it this way. You know what I'm talking about? Happy, if you know what I'm saying. It's just the whole thing. I'm over it. I'm over it. Oh yeah. So you're saying they shouldn't have any? They should have all white guys? No, I'm just saying your diversity crap is just fake, dude. You know what's going on here. You know what's going on. American funds. It's all anti-whiteism, and they don't believe in it, but they have to, and they won't take a stand. They won't take a stand against DEI or CRT. It's sickening to behold. Just take a stand, and that's where the biblically responsible investing. I'm sure they're very diverse, but they're not promoting it, at least that I could see. Maybe they are, which they are. I'm like, oh, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's because DEI is Marxist crap, my friends. And you can't have Marxism. It's bad, it's ugly, it's evil. And what happens when Marxism takes over? Millions upon millions of people are dead because of it. But this is just, it's so true. It's not debatable. They'll say capitalism kills. Well, not as much as Marxism does. That's a fact. And they'll say, well, we never really tried it. We never tried it. That's what they always say. We never really tried the way it should have been tried. They always say that. Crazy. All right, so let's that's disappointing. Yeah, sustainable. That's what I'm saying, because the younger generation of investors aren't that bright, and so they're trying to appease them. Like, look, guys. But I hate to say it, but you're letting the young. It's like when Jimmy Carter, what did he do? Let his stupid daughter, give him environmental advisors. Like basically the same as giving Greta Thunberg to tell you how to run a country with your energy generation. You can't allow the younger generation to dictate things, because the younger generation isn't that smart. They're just not. They haven't been around that long. It's just experience drives intelligence, or wisdom is probably a better term. And when you're a younger generation and you're freaking scared of your own shadow because there's a Trump under every bed, and if someone holds the door open for you as a woman, you're like, oh my goodness, oh, how dare you? That's just so freaking stupid. We're run by a bunch of Manhattanite idiots, like Taylor Lorenz and that fool from Washington Post, used to be New York Times. And these people have a big megaphone. I just like for once a corporation say, no, we're not doing this, man. Anyway. All right, so let's good. Oh, I like that, Marie. That's a good idea. Yes, ma'am. So let's go back. Oh, yes, indeed. We're going to do that right now. Let's go back, and we're going to go back to the home page, and we're going to change our location. Let's do it. Where's some kick-ass Muslim country? Where's Turkey? We got Turkey in here. I don't see any Turkey. Iceland, Japan. Let's do Singapore. Singapore's all right. Let's do Singapore. Let's see what they have to say about Singapore. And we're going to say individual investor. We'll say that. All right. Let's see what we got. Okay. Oh, Rob Lovelace, he's still there. He's been there for a long time on ESG philosophy, ESG bond investing. Yeah. It's just painful. Let's do careers. Can I change would be the same website probably. Yeah. All right. So let's do Russia. I wonder if we can do Russia. So let's change our thing to Russia. Hold on a second. Other sites, individual investors, Europe, United States, Hong Kong, Japan. Oh, Middle East. There we go, baby. Let's go to the Middle East. These guys get it. These guys are getting it. The Middle Easterns. All right. We'll say we're financial intermediary. So let's do that. We'll say we're a financial intermediary. I'm a broker, essentially. And we are in the Middle East. Yeah, baby. Let's see what we got here. Oh, ESG at Capital Group. Let's see if they have any DEI here. right. Let's see the. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if y'all saw like the what was it there? What during the during some um was it World Cup or something? Nah, what was it? Like the embassy, something like that, had this like gay pride flag. But then when they went to the Middle East, they didn't have the gay pride flag, or it was like VW or somebody, some firm that was making car. I can't remember what it was, but they're very big on the gay stuff. And then when they were in the Middle East, they said no, we don't. That's not us. I was like, you guys are so fake, so fake. Uh, oh, okay. Well, Jeremy's here from Rumble. Well, in that case, we can get started. All right. So let's answer some questions I came across my. Yeah, dude. I talked to a guy yesterday. He won't go named. It's funny, not funny. It's interesting. I don't think we spoke for about a couple of years, and yeah, it turns out he got diagnosed with a sclerosis, liver sclerosis, whatever that is, and he got to get a check like every 90 days to see what his score is for how much longer they expect him to live. Like, damn. Anyway, the interesting thing was we hadn't looked at Right Capital. I can't remember exactly. I think a year and a half, 2 years ago, and when we updated Right Capital, we increased their net worth by 150 million, 150,000, because they've been paying down debt and they've been putting more money away. I'm telling you, man, this is why. So remember, when you're paying down debt, it's a win-win on the balance sheet. So a balance sheet. So remember this again. I write about this in my book. Why the current issue on inflation is just so stupid because of owner's occupied equivalency. Owner's equivalent rent, OER, and then rent as a whole. But anyway, so balance sheet has got assets and liabilities. Right. And again, more to come on my book on this, but assets and liabilities. So whenever time you're paying down a debt, all right, what that does is that increases your assets and decreases your liabilities. So paying down debt is a twofer inherently. I just literally paid a mortgage payment. I paid an extra $1,000 a month on my mortgage. I try to pay two extra $1,000 a month, but I'm worried about slowdown, so I'm trying to stack some cash. Anyway, so you have an extra $1,000 a month. That extra $1,000 meant my asset went up by $1,000. So I have 1,000 more in equity, and I have 1,000 less in debt. That's a twofer. I tell you, man, paying down debt is the best thing you do, especially on your house because it's a double. You're not really going to get that on a car, for instance, because a car is not really an asset. I mean, it's an asset, but not the same way as it's not equity. A car doesn't really have equity. It's a declining asset, where a home is not a declining asset. And then you stretch the imagination. Anyway, I had an article on a Vanguard, Home is Where Your Wealth Is, and I don't know what I did with it. I was going to read that as a video. Yeah, if I'm 30 years old, I'd be putting money in the S&P 500, 100%. I mean, but you got to have cash. Dude, stacking cash is critical. I just can't. So as I always say, and I haven't said it for a while, but I never kept much cash. I always put my money in the markets, Chaz. And the reason is because I said, well, if I'm putting, and that's what I'm doing right now too. I'm still investing. I'm still investing in BTI, investing. So my issue is that if I have I ever converting from one religion? Where is he trying to convert to? Catholicism or something like that? Did he meet a Catholic lady trying to convert to Catholicism from Judaism? I have not done a video on converting from one religion to the other. That's interesting, Chicken Charlie. I have not done that. I will tell you, when my brother married a Church of Christ woman, my grandpa was very nervous by that because she wasn't Catholic. That was kind of interesting. Yeah, so it's not really converting, but it's like supposed to be. Is interesting. Anyway, so for me, there, Chaz, I'm still putting money in, and I don't keep much of an emergency fund. I figure at the end of the day, if the markets tank, my emergency fund would be less. But what's the max it could be? Well, it turns out the max less it could be was 57% in 2007, 8, and 9. So that turned out to be 100%. That's what I figured. Yeah, that's I don't know, man. I don't know how that works with you, baby. Judaism, because Jews, you don't have that many of you guys as it is, and you guys don't proselytize either, so you don't get people to the tribe, if that makes sense. And so when you lose one, that's gotta hurt, man. I like Jewish people, man. I don't. I've never. I get. I look. I get that a lot of people will get like, oh, they're the money changers. Well, yeah, they're the money changers because they take care of each other and wish to lend us to change. I don't know. I just think this whole anti-Jew stuff drives me up the wall. With that said, it doesn't mean Jews are without fault. And my goodness, no one would say. I mean, come on. But and that means like when you criticize Israel, it doesn't mean you're criticizing Judaism as a whole. But I think we can model a lot of good behavior off Jewish people. Same group preference. Literally a tribe, the tribe of Israel. You see what I'm saying? And take care of one another. I think we've lost our way in the mainstream American Christianity, the Christian light that we have, which is basically again I think is attributed to Paul. Hey, they just have fun, man, and they just ask for forgiveness, and all is good. Um, Anyway, so going back to I just I plug into my VTI, and that's kind of like my emergency fund, and that can be risky without question. But if you're young, you just got to plug away. All right. So, how often should retirees consider switching from? How often? I'm not really sure what you mean. How often? You can't do it until you separate from service. Most likely, there's these things called enforced distributions. I never liked that. Um, no, I'm still. But my good question, Joe. I'm glad you brought that up. My contributions are still going to VTI. My portfolio is a heavy into money market in that Federal Home Loan Bank Fund. So I got two different things. I'm adding. So I'm safe over here, but I'm adding. If that makes sense. And I think that's kind of like what y'all know Harry. Remember Harry from Oklahoma? He's on here. Hey, dude, I love the TSP 72K10. I love TSP, dude. I'd be on that like white on rice because you get the G fund. You're not gonna be able to get the G fund anywhere else. So I would absolutely think about moving my IRA to the TSP 72K10. I like that G fund, man. That G fund is my pride and joy. So anyway, Joe, I'm just adding. I think you gotta chat with them to. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not gonna tell them not to come to Catholicism, but um, I like the fact he's reading the Bible every day. But remember the basis of our Bible is your own religion, man. I don't know. I think you would. Yeah, in-service distribution. I don't like those in-service distributions by and large because usually the people promoting them are brokers who want to get paid on the assets. 17 years old, you got a lot to learn. I would guide him absolutely, and I'd mentor him. The benefits of both, but you got some work to do there, dude. What I'm saying, I got 4 kids. I mean, I got work to do myself, but I mean, to turn away from the faith of your forefathers would be. Oh, by the way, speaking of Jeremiah, yeah, forefathers. It says forefathers in the Bible, and that was Lincoln did not say fathers. Jeremiah says forefathers. Lincoln said fathers. Going back to the Mandela effect we talked about on Saturday night. 7 years ago, our forefathers did this, that, and the other. And now it doesn't say forefathers. Now it says fathers. Now that doesn't make any sense there, Big Abe. He got Mandela affected. It wasn't fathers. Your fathers is one generation ago, 30 years ago. That's it. 70 years ago wasn't one generation. That's literally forefathers. And reading in the book of Jeremiah, it says forefathers as well. All right. Yeah, dude, that sucks, man. That sucks. Anyway, so this guy came up with he had sclerosis of the liver, and he's not yellow, which is what his wife says. His wife said if he's walking around like a highlighter, it's over. But it's great to see their portfolio, their net worth increased by $150,000, which is pretty significant because they didn't have a huge net worth as it was. Just great people. Love the people I work with. I freaking loved it, and it was great. But at the end of the day, We're not sure how much longer he has to be on this world. So it's good to get his stuff in order, because he might not be around longer. He could be, but essentially for him, he's going to work until he dies. Essentially, because he's like, I got to make sure my wife is in good place, and he recognized that. And he doesn't have a crap old job either. One of the things I do want to revisit while I'm thinking about that is to make sure you look at your life insurance stuff, because he can't get life insurance. He's not going to qualify. So thankfully, they have life insurance through work. And his wife brought up a good point. I'd overlooked this. So he had like 3 times salary because that's the best you could get without being underwritten. So just as a side note, if you guys take ill and you need life insurance and you can't work anymore, you can a lot of those life insurances you get from your employer can be what's called portable, which means you can roll them out to your own personal. You basically own the life insurance without being underwritten. I want to make. I got to go on this. This is a big deal, dudes. All right, so if you're fallen ill and you can't work anymore because whatever sclerosis or whatever it is, or let's say something they injected something into your arm and it damaged you, if you know what I'm saying. Make sure if you got it. So a couple things. Make sure at your employer, if you have a big employer, that you have access to the group life insurance. Now, group life insurance is freaking expensive because you're guaranteeing everyone has an access to a certain amount of life insurance as part of the group plan. It's no underwriting. Now you'll be underwritten for above a certain threshold. Underwriting means they're going to check your health, but you usually get 2 or 3 times your salary to get without being underwritten. Now what happens is once you hang up the boots and leave that place, you can't. You can a lot of these places you can take your insurance with you. Now it's going to be on you to pay it. And it's not, and it ain't gonna be cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than not having any insurance if you're not long for this world. We got to go back to recognizing that we are not all long for this world, man. We don't have that many years ahead of us, and some of us take ill before our time is. And the one thing we don't want to do is allow things of simple to lapse that could really benefit our heirs and our kids. And in that case, having the group life insurance and you roll it to portable, where you can roll it to your own. It's not going to be cheap, but you're not going to be cheap for a couple of years, and then it's going to be a great investment because you're dead, and then your wife gets $400,000 life insurance for $5,000 of premiums, if that makes sense. It's a big deal, and I don't think a lot of people do the pre-planning very well, because they're too stuck in the moment. And I get it, but that's where I come in. I say, don't be stuck in the moment, man. You gotta think outside the box here. And what happens is if you separate from service and leave the life insurance behind, and then it turns out you have a condition, a jab, if that makes sense, shot to the heart, comiocorditis, whatever that thing was called with the Hamlin guy. No one ever heard this until some of them. Now we don't hear anymore. You're gonna not have life insurance because you won't get underwritten. And so I can't stress this enough. I got to do another video on this, man, just solely because we don't have a huge my live streams. I mean, I like my live streams, but they don't. The point being is you got to get your private insurance even while you're covered by your home insurance or your work insurance, because a private insurance through a private provider will be cheaper because they're going to underwrite you and they're going to say, Josh, you suck, or Josh, you kick ass. And as such, my premiums will be based on me solely, not based on the group as a whole. I hope that makes sense, man. Yeah, fees aren't bad. Usually 401k fees are pretty low. Usually pretty low. But nowadays it's interesting, like, because there used to be a bunch of people on Rumble talk about the TSP. Right, exactly. Dealing with the TSP hasn't been experienced. Yeah, it's not a great. It's not user friendly. And while the TSP used to be notorious for low fees, it's not the case anymore. It's kind of like USAA, man. USAA used to be notorious for the best service and the best rates. Those days are long gone for property and casualty insurance. And now it's like, when I used to talk to people, I used to be part of something called Business Networking International, BNI, when I was in Harrisonburg, Virginia. And it was, Giver's gain is what it was. The saying was giver's gain, BNI. So if you're starting a business, BNI is a great group to belong to, because you're really trying to refer business to your group of people in your group, which is great. Giver's gain. Anyway, point being was I had a guy from State Farm. He said, "Hey, I'm part of your BNI group." He goes, "Hey, I'd like to quote you something." I said, "Yeah, dude, I'm happy." He goes, "Who you got?" I said, "USA." He goes, "I can't touch it." Now it's not the case anymore. Now they can touch it. It's just what happens. Oh, 1 o'clock. So I want to start doing my questions. Is that the USA services kind of, not only is the premiums got high, but the services kind of fallen off. All right, so let's go with some of these questions here. I said I'm going to give myself an hour of yapping, and here we are in an hour. Yappy tappy. All right. So Diane asked. She says, "I got 174,000 in an IRA CD. All right, she's getting 4.4%. That's freaking smoking deal. I got 126,000 in an annuity with Jackson National. I think Diane says she's 76 or 70. She's divorced and she's in her 70s, if that makes sense. I need more income. My annuity will never be worth more than it is now because of required distributions. Of the 8 options available, the life with installment refund new would give me $877 a month. All right, so again, she needs more income. She got 174 in IRA, 126 in annuity, and she wants to know what to take. All right, so if we have life and 20-year period certain, that's $750 a month. All right, so we take $750 a month. Take our trusty calculator. 750 times 12. Divide that by her 126,000. That's a 7.1% distribution rate. Now, you don't need it. She might just want to do the 10-year certain because she's already 75. I'd probably do the 10-year certain. Let's see, 905 times 12 divided by, what we say, 126. Yeah, I'd do this right here. So what's happening is because she's in her 70s, she's going to get a higher payout on her annuity because she's not going to be around as long. I mean, if you're 75 years old, you're not going to live for another 50 years, believe it or not. We're not Noah. We got a lot of damages from big pharma and other firms that really set us back in terms of synthetics and all that. Remember, they used to spray DDT. They used to go around spraying it in neighborhoods, and kids would chase it on their bikes. Anyway, so in this case, because she needs income, the 10-year period certain says as long as if she dies before 10 years, her heirs will get the remaining of that 10 years. So if she dies in year 3, the heirs will get the 905 a month for the next 7 years. If she dies in year 11, the heirs don't get anything. But because she says she needs more income, this is the one I'd do right there. A 10-year period certain. Again, that simply means is that she is going to be covered for her life or her heirs for 10 years, whichever is longer, if that makes sense. Now, if it's just for her life, this would be the way to go, 972. But she does have some kids, I remember. And I think it was important for her to leave some behind. I would actually annuitize this puppy too, to be honest with you. But I don't know I can't remember if she has any cash. I don't recall. We want to have some cash, and she's getting 4.4%. That's tough to beat. So scratch that. I shouldn't say that explicitly because I just can't remember what her cash holdings are. But if she's getting 4.4, I'd certainly annuitize the annuity that she has. I probably wouldn't annuitize the CD. I mean, 4.4 is pretty stellar, if that makes sense. So I don't think I'd do that. But I can't remember what her cash situation is or if she has any debt. All right, so now we got Denise says, I've been using TurboTax to file my federal tax returns for a few years. This year I entered my information. I usually have 80,000 in gross income and 47,000 taxable income. They're telling me I owe 9,000 in taxes. All right, so let's take a look at Denise. And I assume she's single. Hey, thanks. John Watson. Yeah, right on, man. 100%, John Watson. So let's see. We're going to go to Right Capital. We're going to open up. Now, remember, Right Capital isn't 1040. Just FYI. All right. Oops. Stop sharing. All right, sweet. I thought I was sharing the wrong thing. Right Capital isn't a 1040, but we're going to use it because it's not. It's not tax preparation software, but I like it nonetheless. All right. So we're going to have Denise, and frankly, it doesn't matter how old she is. I mean, a little bit, but not much. And we're going to assume she's single. And we're going to go to sample. All right. Put this right here. Get rid of that right there. So we're going to go to Kevin sample, and we'll call Kevin Denise sample. right? And go, and we're going to open up Denise here. Crack how? There we go. All right, sweet. So let's bring her up and write capital. Yeah, sweet. I thought I changed her name to Denise. Well, I guess I did not. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come share screen, write capital. And there's Kevin's sample. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to profile. She said she made 80,000 of gross income, okay, and 47,000 taxable income. She must be married then. She must be married. How did she make 80,000? Oh, that's still $33,000 of a deduction. I don't get, how did she get 80,000 of gross income? But all right, let's mess around. So we're going to say her income is 80,000 schmackers. And right here is 80,000. And what we're going to do is we're just going to we don't care about this. We're just going to zero that out. There we go. Sweet. And then what we're going to do is go to net worth, and we're going to zero this out. All right. Okay, good. So cool. All right, sweet. Yeah. All right. So I already got it set up. All right. So let's take a look at what her 1040 looks like here. So I'll make sure we're going to look at 1040. Y'all can see this. Yeah. Sweet. 2023. Do not put her income in here. Oh, I had him retired. Hold on a second. What's the taxable amount from? All right, so let's go to income. Yeah, okay, good. So we got to have him still working. And we'll say 70. And right there. Add some other income. Hold on, right there to have another income. Shouldn't be any Social Security. I say no Social Security. Let's just look at this. All right. Let's just look at cash flows. Where's the other income? Yeah, okay, good. There's her salary. All right, sweet. Let's not do any plans. Oh, okay, there you go. That's what it was. Or age. Okay, there we go. That's, yeah, right on. Perfect. All right, so let's look at a 1040. So she put money into her 401k, obviously. All right, so here's her wages, $57,000 because she put the max in her 401k. And again, she says she has $80,000 of gross income and $47,000 of taxable income. Well, she's putting the max into her 401k, and so that still has $57,000 of, yeah, right here. Here's her taxable income right there. She has 47,000. So that's $5,000 in taxes. Sounds about right. So she said though let's put. Hold on a second. We're going to change the profile and savings. We're going to change that down a little bit to $16,000. We're going to go back to 1040, and we should be pretty much spot on to old Denise here. Let's take a gander. Let's gander. All right. Tax, yeah, right there, $48,000. She has $6,000 in taxes. Yeah, so I'm not sure what she's griping about. She says she owes $9,000 in tax. Well, he probably owes some to the state too. So, what state do we got Kevin living in here? Let's take a look at his retirement here. And we're going to go cash flows, taxes. Yes, yeah, there you go, right on. So she pays $8,000, and Kevin's paying a little bit more than that, but still, yeah, that works. Yeah, Denise, you're fine. No one's scamming you. Come on, but that was a good. That was a good exercise. But no one's scamming you. All right, so let's keep going here. That was a good exercise. Enjoy that kind of stuff. All right, let's see what we got. Blink, share screen. Go to undocumented. Undocumented. Steve, Josh, love the channel. You are a comic relief in my house. Yikes. I have a question around Social Security. I'm currently 56 and my wife is 55. So I robbed the cradle. I want to delay filing until 70. All right. So So he's a year older than his wife, but he's not going to file till he's 70. Can she collect half of my PIA? All right, so remember, it's not FRA. FRA is full retirement age. So FRA doesn't say anything about income. PIA is primary insurance amount. All right, so FRA is just when it, but I get what he's saying. Can his wife collect half when he's 67 years old? Right. So can she collect half of my full retirement account? I said half of my PIA when she is 67, when he's 68. The answer is no, because like you said, it looks like I have had to have filed. That's correct. But I'd like to delay taking benefits so she has more guaranteed if I die first. Yep. I also don't want to leave money on the table for a couple of years with her taking her personal record benefits. Half of okay. No, well, you answered your own question. I didn't see that. All right, so he's just conflicted. Like, what's the best strategy essentially for him to take Social Security? If he wants to wait till he's 70, his wife won't be able to get half of his benefit until she's 69, because she's 1 year behind him. If he files at 67, his wife will get a reduced spousal benefit at 66 because she's a year behind him. So he might want to just say, I'll file at 68 to get 1 year delayed earnings credits, and then my wife can get the max spousal benefits as well. There's no easy answer for this stuff because we just don't know how long you're going to live, and we don't know what the source of income they have or anything like that. But if he waits till he's 70, his wife won't get the spousal benefits until she's 69. So at least 2 years will go by with no spousal benefits. Now his wife might have her own record, and she could file. I don't know, but yeah. All right, we got this guy, long-time watcher. Thank you. I saw some of your video on alternatives of Wellington. I got another idea. Just look for one fund. What about creating your own? Yeah, right here. This is what I'm talking about. Creating your own fund with one good equity and one good bond fund. Yeah, no, 100%, man. So that's, again, going back to my scenario is, I get that. I had no qualm with that at all. None at all. My thought process would be the nice thing about, investing with a biblically responsible investment firm. And remember, Timothy Plans has ETFs as well, is that they can represent you in front of the board of directors when they're talking stupid ESG stuff and DEI. So if you're just in an index funds, you don't get that representation. You just don't, because Vanguard is going to proxy you, and Vanguard is going to do what the hell Vanguard wants to do. At the end of the day, none of this matters anyway. But for me, it just makes me feel better to say, hey, I don't want to be part of your crap, but I still want to invest. I still want to invest in companies that can grow their earnings, grow their dividends and whatnot, and maybe make a profit for me. But I want to have a seat at the table. And if I'm all in index funds, Vanguard is my seat at the table, or Schwab, and they aren't seated at the table in my interest in that regard. They're not, as you can just witness by going to American Fund's website, Vanguard's website. At least with Timothy Plan or Timothy Funds or Ave Maria Mutual Funds, when a guy, George Schwartz from Ave Maria, shows up, they know he's going to preach biblically responsible investing. And he's going to say, hey, we got an issue with your freaking, taking little Johnny out when he's 4 years old and saying he is something he's not, if you know what I'm saying. I think we got one more to talk. Yeah. All right. So this guy says, I work in county government. Let me show you. No, my head's right here, baby. This guy says, I work in county government, which I receive a Florida retirement pension. Will my Social Security payments be reduced, and if so, by how much? I'm estimating my pension be about $3,000 a month, and my Social Security about $2,300 a month or so. Well, does a Florida retirement pension system, do you pay into the Social Security system? If you don't, then you're going to be, you'll be subject to WEP, windfall elimination. And that's just all there is to it. I don't know if Florida retirement system pays into Social Security. My presumption is they do. Usually it's just some teachers. That's it. And the very, very few people anymore don't pay into Social Security. Municipalities, I don't know hardly any municipalities that don't pay into Social Security. But I don't think a lot of teachers, not a lot, but a number of teachers' places don't, and they're subject to WEP and then GPO. So in this guy's case, because he's single, the GPO doesn't matter, but the WEP does. And so I don't know if he's paying into Social Security or not. It's literally that simple. If you're paying into Social Security, i.e. having FICA taxes withheld, you're good. You don't have to worry about WEP. And your Social Security benefit will be whatever this benefit says on the statement. If you're not paying the Social Security, well, you're going to have an issue there because you're going to be subject to windfall elimination provision, which could greatly reduce. I think WEP is like what, $555 a month or something like that. The max reduction. I haven't looked at this for 2023. For simplicity, let's say $600 a month. So if he's getting $2,300 on Social Security and he's subject to WEP, it'd be what, that $1,700 a month. All right, Vaughn says, yeah, dude, 100% Kirk, 100%. Keep 220. That's a tough one, Vaughn, because 4.5%, you can create your own annuity without annuitizing it. You see what I'm saying? The question is, it's a good question. How long the interest rate's going to stay this high? I don't know. But if you're keeping, it's a tough one, man. No other way around. So going back to what Harry in Oklahoma did, and he said this, he annuitized well above what he needed for income. And any extra income, yes, he has. Look at him. You're on YouTube now? Okay. Well, you no longer on Rumble? Yeah, exactly. A man on Rumble says, I don't know what the C fund would do over the next 30 years like it did the last 30. 100%, man. Jeremy says he can't convert his pre-tax TSP to his Roth TSP. Really? Yeah. I didn't know you couldn't do that. But see, that's the issue. I don't know what the C fund's going to do in the future either. But so for me, I have the equivalent of the C fund, the VTI, is the Vanguard Total Stock Index, which I'll slowly get rid of, not because I hate VTI, but I don't want to be supporting DEI and CRT and ESG. But I don't know what it's going to do either. But growing dividends, I like that. You know what I'm saying? And stocks, they have more upside than bonds. A lot more downside than bonds too. That's not true. Stocks have the exact same downside as bonds. Bonds are downside at 0. Stocks downside is 0. Stocks have more upside than bonds with the same downside. The issue is, what's the true risk of a bond going bankrupt? Look what happened to SVB. They had creditors who had higher priority of other creditors. The lower priority creditors got bailed out. The higher priority creditors did not. Well, my bonds are prioritized over those lower issued tranches of bonds. And it turns out SVB, SVB, they bailed out the lower tranches. What? How's that legal? It's supposed to be coming priority. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I think tough to overlook money markets right now, Vaughn, when the interest rates are so good, man. Like it probably say, I'm turning my back on you. Disability can be rolled over many times, paychecks. All right, so here's a life insurance salesman. That's all right. But they always have these cute little sayings. Disability can also be rolled over many times, paychecks and playchecks. We used to say we got to protect your heirs from creditors and predators and in-laws and outlaws. And I think some guy has been using that recently on YouTube. Yeah, you didn't come up with that, guy. You didn't come up with that. But who knows who came up with it? I don't know. I learned it from a guy named David Tedesco at USAA. Actually, funny, Tedesco's a big life insurance guy. And this is the 2008 chaos. He's like, let me go check my whole life rates and see how much I'm losing. Oh, haven't lost anything. I'm still getting 5.5% a year. I'll never forget that. That opened my eyes up to whole life insurance when Tedesco's like, let me check how much I'm losing now. It's pretty funny. Because remember, whole life insurance is a scam. I think I had another. Fidelity seems okay with me, but yeah. I don't know anymore. I mean, it's dashboard there. Yeah, see, that's again, when these companies, remember, when the companies are, they're being directed by the people who own their shares. You see what I'm saying? And the people who own their shares are only hearing one side of the thing here, which is ESG, DEI, CRT, ESG, DEI, CRT, everybody now. And when the companies don't hear another side, they say, "Oh, I guess that's what everybody wants." And that's why I'm sitting. For me, I'm thinking I'll probably invest in Ave Maria mutual funds because they're Catholic and they're conservative Catholics, which I like. And I say at least I'll have a seat at the table when George Schwartz and boys go up there and say, "Hey, we don't think you should be chopping off the yin yang of a 3-year-old boy who's woke up one day thinking he's a girl." My whole life insurance for my children. Yeah, what I'm saying, Kirk. Wayne says, yeah, but yeah, what I'm saying. 5.25, 2-year CD. Are they to the Fed raise? Is that what everybody's saying? Right on, Jill. He don't know what the future rate's going to be. That's for sure. All right, so we got a 170. Okay, so let's see, 1736 a month divided by, that's 20,000, almost 21,000 a year, divided by 225. Whoa! You sure you're reading that right, Vaughn? That is 9.2%. And Vaughn, you ain't that old if memory serves. Yeah, that's pretty good, man. That seems unreasonable to me. That doesn't make sense. You sure you sure that's not a 10-year period certain? That's it? You sure it's a life and 10-year period certain? No way. If we're getting 9% on that annuity, remember it's a distribution yield. It's not an interest rate. Vaughn knows this, by the way. I'm not yelling at Vaughn. A lot of people don't. They'll say, "Oh my goodness, you're saying I'm getting 9% rate of return on my investments?" No, we're saying it's a distribution yield. How much is paying? It's paying you $12,000 or $20,000 a year for every 200,000 you invest. That's your distribution yield. Yeah, that seems pretty high, man. If that's the case, that'd be tough to overlook, man. Cheese Louise and blue cheese. Anything on Rumble here? All right. Most likely not. Yeah, see, I had a comment. Well, I'm getting ready to post a video. I didn't have enough time to post it for this. Same. Oh, yeah. Well, hell, man. 9.2%, 75-year-old woman. Yeah. Dude, I'm freaking chomping that up, dude. Obviously, leave enough liquidity in case a roof falls. I get all that. So all these out there. So I had a guy. Let me show you a comment this guy said, because I'm going to do I'm going to post a video on it when we're done. I just didn't have enough time to do it today. So let me show you this comment this guy said. Hold on a second. It's funny in a way, because I was like, dude. All right, hold on a second. We go to the station and we'd like to get naked, something like that. All right, hold on a second. Go to my studio, my vids. All right, get rid of that right there. All right, hold on a second. I said, hold on, everybody. Be patient, amigos. Be patient. Patience is a virtue. How dare you talk about things I don't want to talk about? Like your crazy conspiracy theories, Jesus, and basketball and football. How dare you? So right here, get these comments right here. Okay, I'm going to post a video along this lines here in just a second. We're going to look at comments. We're going to view comments. All right, so check this out. We're going to click off that guy. So this is based on my thing where the reality CPI, we take out OER, owner's equivalent rent, we take out the actual rent because you're not renting from yourself, and we reduce our housing cost, i.e. in CPI, by basically 30%. If that makes sense. And then we take out half of transportation because we're not buying a new or used vehicle every year. All right, so we're reducing CPI because CPI is not a measurement of how much it costs to maintain a certain standard level of goods. If it were, we would not have OER and rent. That's just dumb. So we take that out. So I just want to point that out. So my man here, John T, said what you ideally want is a high CPI related pension or Social Security which goes up every year with a low personal inflation rate. That's 100% right. A high CPI is wonderful if you're on inflation adjustment Social Security, which we all are. All are. So a high CPI is great, especially when we can simply see our personal inflation rate is probably much lower relative to CPI. Now, I want to show you something here. The pensions, well, Social Security is a pension. All right, so check this out. So this guy right here says, all right, this guy kind of disappointed me. There's a video I'm going to do on this here in just a second. I'm not going to get to it right now because I'm going to post a video on this. But this guy right here says, Mark Lerfeld. I don't know who this is, but he's got a suit and tie, so he's obviously a financial guy, very smart financial guy. He goes, just because you can massage the CPI categories to support your conclusion that fixed annuities will net enough after-tax income to cover your reality CPI, what if you're wrong? And I don't mind that. What if you're wrong? 100%. What if you're wrong? And that's not, everybody has to take the perspective, what if you're wrong? And someone has bet their retirement and family's legacy on your advice. Okay. What if the annuity rates are lower upon renewal, which they probably will be, 100%. If you invest in a balanced portfolio, so here's the silliness. If you invest in a balanced portfolio and inflation is anywhere near its 90 or even 20-year average, so the fact that he doesn't see what is happening here. What if I'm wrong that the annuity situation isn't as advantageous as it is now? But he doesn't want to say, what if he's wrong? If I invest my balanced portfolio and inflation is anywhere near its 90 or even 20-year average. And one of the things that ticks me off about this comment is he's basically going back to the Ibbotson chart from 1926, that's kind of like when the markets, for some reason, Roger Ibbotson, when he's at the University of Chicago, started his whole thing on 1926 performance. I don't know why. I'm not sure why 1926 is weird to me, but be that as it may. But he's using this 90-year average as if it's all encompassing. It's kind of like what the global warming people do. This is the worst on record, Josh. Worst on record. How long is your record? Well, 35 years, but it's the worst on record. Well, your record is silly because the Earth has been around for 6,000, so your record's stupid. All right, so just as dumb. And the same thing here. It's like the 90-year, even 20-year average. So he's literally doing. So I'm betting the bank in my video saying your annuities at 5% are a secure source of income. And if you look at inflation, the reality inflation, when we take out OER and transportation, again, half OER and half of transportation, they look even better, if that makes sense. Because your inflation rate is personal, your personal inflation rate, nothing to do with CPI. And he goes, what if you're wrong? Well, what I'm saying, what if I'm wrong? The question is, what if you're wrong? Because if you're wrong, and we start in 2007, 8, and 9, we're a 60-40 portfolio. Wellington was down 37% during those times, guy. 37%. Your fixed annuity was down nothing. So why is it always my side? What if I'm wrong? Well, because we have a 90-year track record. Yeah, so did Japan had a long track record too until 1989, and then it fell to crap. It's not like that, but what we're still using that 4% rule here, which he does. He doesn't say that specifically, but we'll get into it. So we're still assuming that if we have a 37% slump in the beginning of your retirement, that is better than having a 5% fixed annuity, which will mature in 5 years and you can roll it to something else. It makes no sense, dudes. It's crazy talk, man. He's thinking if you're locking in an annuity, you're locking it for life. You're not. You could. If I could get a 20-year fixed annuity at 5%, I'd probably take that. But I can't. Why? Because a 30-year bond right now, 30-year treasury is like 3.5. So I can't get a 20-year fixed annuity at 5%. And this whole thing is just preposterous. But these guys, they think they're all that in a bag of chips. I'm like, dude. Anyway, I will have enough to maintain my lifestyle. Okay, so if you invest in a balanced portfolio and inflation is anywhere near its 20 or 90-year average, I will have enough to maintain my lifestyle. So the whole point of the 4% rule, dude. whole point of Bengen, and rightly so, in 1994, he said, what would be the max you could take out without ever having zeroed out your portfolio? And that was in 1994. He ran that based on previous 30 years, or maybe it's going to 1926. I can't remember. 60% S&P 500, 40% in the intermediate treasury bonds. It was about 4.4% when all said and done. When you look at the Trinity study, the difference between that and now, though, is that back then you could get freaking long-term bonds a hell of a lot more than 3.5%. I mean, don't forget, in 1981, you could get a freaking 10-year treasury at 18%, dude. A 30-year treasury at 15.25%. So when you're looking at bond rates as part of that 60-40, to look at the previous years is freaking absurd, because the bond rates aren't anywhere near the previous years. Even though they've gone up, the long-term bonds are still quite low, hovering around 3.5. With your recommendations, that is the case. My recommendations, if you take a 5% annuity, you won't be able to maintain my lifestyle as well as to leave a legacy. Is actually much riskier, because one wouldn't have the financial cushion in the later years of life when it's most needed. Earning enough to exceed taxes and inflation isn't a negotiation just because you can massage the numbers to justify your argument. See, this whole thing is preposterous. It's weird, the level of infancy on these arguments, frankly. If you want to use historical averages, well, be my guest. Dive deeper. Start by reading some older literature on the topic. Robert Soldovsky is a good place to begin. And we talked about him here before, Robert Soldovsky, where he looked at inflation numbers relative starting in 1913, which is the beginning of the Fed. And he did a 3 and 10-year increments. And it's not in stocks as a hedge against inflation. The evidence of that is sparse. It can be. Absolutely. Bonds can be a hedge against inflation, for heaven's sake, dude. You know, if you bought that 10-year treasury or 30-year treasury in 1981, you're freaking hedged against inflation, 100%. When it matured, you weren't. But stocks were not a hedge against inflation in freaking Japan, even though they had basically low to zero inflation for many years, because the stock market was getting pummeled. The level of absurdity in some of these financial gurus is frightening to me, frankly. It's crazy. Because the thing is, there is, again, going back to sequence of return risk. You can't afford the big destruction of 2008. And to think that 2000 it drives up the wall. It's like Dave Ramsey on steroids. To say the markets, it really, really is painful. To say the markets have averaged this each and every year, that's an average. Yes, that's true. Dave Ramsey will say, look, the markets have averaged 10 to 12, so you can take 7% a year of your capital and still be good. Ugh. To say that even while you're acknowledging that there's up and down in the market is even worse, in my opinion, because it depends on when you start it depends on when you start the withdrawal. That's a sequence of return risk. If you start the withdrawal in freaking March 9th of 2009, your goose is cooked, dude. You're done. You're done for. If you start to withdraw in freaking Jan 1, 1982, you're freaking golden. It's just all luck, though. 1982 to 1999 was the biggest bull run we've ever had. And then we factor in another bull run from 2009 to 2022 or 21. That's substantial growth, 100%. 100%. That's not likely, though. It's not common. Certainly not likely. Could happen. But you know what else could happen? We could go Japan. We could go 2008. We could have sporadic recession or bear markets. Look, we've had 4 bear markets in the last 22 years now. 4. In 2000, 2001, and 2 were brutal. 2007, 8, and 9 were brutal. 2020 wasn't that bad because of the silliness. 2022 was horrible for bonds. Anyway, it's nuts how I 100%, man. It's the difference between trying to optimize versus planning with goal of having enough no matter what. 100%. And that's where they say, they're against annuities because they're against the bucket approach, like that guy, Bob Burger, the big head guy, Bob Burger with a white beard. The bucket approach isn't optimal. What's optimal is taking Social Security at 70. Even Devin Carroll did a video on this, which we had chatted about this, actually. It's funny. Um, only have this year next before the old rates kick back in. Tax rates could change before then. Let's see, no problem. And we talk about it's like Devin said. It's funny. Every Social Security calculator he uses when it comes to optimizing Social Security always says wait until you're 70. I said I know, man. Same kind of thing with the bucket strategy. Big head Bob. And look, I don't know Bob Berger. I mean, he's probably a nice guy. I don't know. But it ticks me off. He says, this isn't optimal. What do you say? Optimal or this isn't a fit. I can't really say it. It's like, dude. Look, I got a big head. I got a little bit too much weight. I get you. So you can make fun of me. It's all right. The issue is when we're like my man Blaine says, investing is a rear view mirror can only 100% dude. So we're looking in the forward. We're going to say to ourselves, okay, what do we think is most likely to happen? A scenario similar from 1982 to 1999, that's 17 years, from 2009 to 2021, that's 12 years, or a 1970s experience, or 1966 and 1982, or even if you want to look into basically the Great Depression, what's the optimal place in that regard? Because all these things got to be divided up into chunks. Because we're going to try to cover us for 20 to 30 years in retirement. If the first 2 years are the ball busters, which they are, we've got to protect the freaking castle against those first 2 years. And if buying a 5% annuity can do that, even if it's not optimal in hindsight, I don't get why people get all freaking their panties all whatever it is. It's weird to me. The real returns on bonds when they're 18% was only 2% because inflation was at 16%. No, that's not. What's Fred missing? Oh. What's Fred missing here, guys? Oh, I can't. Fred is making an argument. The real returns on bonds are only 2% because if you bought those bonds in 1982, inflation will just use a 18% 10-year Treasury bond. You can use a 15.25% 30-year Treasury bond. If you bought the bond in 1982, Fred's argument is that inflation ate all of the return on the 30-year Treasury and only left you a 2% real return on the bond, the 10-year Treasury. Who wants to take a gander at what's wrong with Fred's numbers here? Oh my goodness, man. Got a lot of work to do here, guys. Got a lot of work yet to do at Heritage Wealth Planning. As long as YouTube will keep me on. We'll wait to see what. Jeremy, you got some comments on this. Let's see. You have to live to 70 start. You have to live to. I'm not sure what. You have to live till 70 to start collecting. Only have. I'm not sure what you're saying there, brother. On Rumble, I'm not. You and Jeremy might be chatting. What do you mean? Oh, keep going, John. What do you mean the out years you made bank? Talk to me. Keep going. Talk to me. This is critical, man. Look at my man Gen X. Us Gen Xers kick your baby boomers' asses every which way to Sunday. Yeah, look at my man John Gen X. Dude, you're freaking crushing, dude. Well, even Boss Tweed. I think I got Boss Tweed the last time. I think I even got John Gen X the last time, too. So I'm the sucker. Look at these guys. These guys are tearing it up. Boss Tweed. He's a boss. It says it right there. John Gen X. Look at that freaking beautiful, beautiful ball head. Look at that. Don't you just want to rub it for luck? All right. So let's talk about why Fred is wrong. I can't believe I have to do this, frankly, but okay. That's okay. Everyone can learn. The issue is when you see these things right here as if you're wrong, Josh. How dare you? All right, so I'm buying a we're going to buy a 30-year Treasury. All right, we're going to put $100,000 in. It's going to mature for $100,000. In 2011, it matured. In 1982, I bought it. Every single year, I'm getting 15 and a quarter, Fred. Every single flipping year for 30 years, I'm getting 15 and a quarter. Even if CPI, because they started using CPIU with OER in 1982, so it's freaking suspect as it is. Even if CPI in year one was 16, what happened later on there, Fred? Wake up. Recognize when you buy a bond, you're holding it to maturity or not, it doesn't matter. But even if you didn't hold this puppy to maturity, if you sold that puppy in 1992, this 30-year bond, that thing would have a par value, a value well above par because the interest rates were so much lower. Come on, man. This isn't that difficult. Stop looking at short-term stuff for long-term planning. This is my whole thing. Today, the inflation rate is 8.9%. Thus, it's going to be 8.9% for the rest of my life. Oh, my goodness. I can't take it. It's crazy. In 1982, the PE rates were 8%. We're only 8 PE. Okay. And from 1982 to 1999, the PE rates did what? They went to nosebleeder. That's why I had the 2000, 2001, and 2002 crash. Because Cisco had a PE of 135. PE ratio on the blue chip stocks in 1982 were 8. A very good buy. But guess what? You know why is they so low? Because everyone's worried about inflation. And that's why buying the long-term bonds is a very good profitable endeavor. Why? Because you lock in 15 and a quarter with no risk, government guaranteed. But no one want to do that. Why? Because they all fell for the same freaking snake oil salesman and said, oh my goodness, massive tax hikes are going to come and massive inflation. No other way around it because of government debt. Debt. That's what they all said. All said it. I'm going to talk about this in my book. The debt's going to make massive tax hikes, massive inflation. There's no way around it. We're all going to die. And it didn't happen that way. Because the foundation is all gone because there's no gold freaking attachment to the money supply. So it doesn't matter. It's all gone, dude. We're not paying off the debt. It'll never happen. They're never going to have a balanced budget. It's going to collapse at some point. There's no two ways around it. When, where, how, I don't know. In fact, who was it telling me this guy was telling me? I think this guy talked to yesterday, man. You know who else was you know who else was a literal snake oil salesman? John Rockefeller's dad. John Rockefeller's dad. This guy was telling me, who was it? Yesterday or 2 days? I was talking to this guy. They were revisiting the 2008 stuff, in 2009 and 2010 writings of the financial pundits about how the debt was going to bankrupt us all. The debt was going to have massive inflation, massive interest rates, because of helicopter Ben Bernanke and the quantitative easing and whatnot. And it didn't happen. It didn't come close to happening. It just did not. And as everyone said, well, look what happened now. And yeah, what happened now is obvious. You freaking eliminate supply of energy, and you're going to do it more. It's going to make the price of stuff go up without question. And then you have supply chains. All right, come on, Fred. All right, at least he's good. Stop being so declarative in statements if we don't know what we're talking about. That's the issue. Stop being so declarative because people are going to read that and think that you're onto something. You're wrong. It's the same thing with the other guy in the video. He's like, oh, my goodness. I'm like, dude, you're making an assumption that you don't know is going to come to fruition. Not this guy, Fred, the other guy. These declarative statements. I don't know what's wrong with just saying, I don't know. I don't know. But I do know I don't want to hit a 37% decline from 2007 to 2008, 2009. People got to pull their head out of their butts, man. And everyone's like, oh, I can handle it. I had another lady, and she's probably right. She goes, I can take it. You're not going to be able to take it once you're in retirement, dude. Maybe it's because I have the benefit of having worked with clients since 1998. Let me show you something here, and we'll get out of here in just a second. I want to show you something here. We're going to go to finance.yahoo.com. And we're going to look at the S&P 500. All right, so we're going to look at the S&P 500 and what. Josh, VFINX. All right, so this is Vanguard S&P 500 index. It tracks the S&P 500. It's not the index. It is the index. Go on. Anyway, so we're going to look at this guy right here, and we're going to look at performance. All right. Everybody with me on this? You're right. Right on, Fred. Good for acknowledging. Good for acknowledging. You're okay. All right. So let's look at performance here. All righty. Let's look at right here. Look at those years. 96, 94, 95, 90. Look at that. That's irrational exuberance was right here, by the way. If memory serves, 1995 is irrational exuberance. And if you don't know that, that's okay. Alan Greenspan. Look at these years. Nothing to worry about, Josh. Nothing to worry about those years. My friends, I wonder if I can do a price in 1998. Let's look at the S&P 500. Can I do historical data 1998? Let's see if I can do it. Prices, yes. We're going to go to, let's see if it'll let me do it. 0101 1998. 12 31 1998. Yay! Yay for me. You're the best, Josh. Yeah. I just wish my wife would say that. All right, so here we are in 1998. We're going to just look at prices. We're not looking at dividends or anything like that. We're just looking at prices. We ended the year at 114. All right, so let's put our thing here. 114 on the end, and we're going to do the start. We're going to go all the way down here, and we're going to do the start of the year. Hold on just a second. Hold on just a second. And we started the year at 90. Right. So you see, we started the year at 90. We went to 114. Everybody with me so far? 1998. So we ended the year heavy in the black. It's great, man. All right. So if memory serves, let's see, we go up to 89, 93, 93, 95, 96. Whoa, 97, 97. Can I get a 99? Yes, I can. March 10th, 1998, 99. I can get 100. Let's keep looking here. Now, if memory, was it 98 in July? In the summer months of 98, I think it was. The summer months of 98, if memory serves. Yes, we start falling to 99. So we fell 99, 98. Yeah, I remember that. 98, 97, 8. Look at that. There it was. Yep, 89. You all see it right there. You all see that? 89. S&P 500 in August 31st, 1998 was 89. What did it start the year at 90? And what was the highest before then? It was at 89. It was at 106. Can I get a 108? 110? Basically 110. So from May, I think it was May or something like that. It was high. July. That's right there. 110. I remember it's it's horrible. 110 to 89. It was right, 89, right? In a month's time. All right, it's 110 to 89. So we take our trusty calculator. We go 110 minus 89 divided by 110. It was down 19% in freaking a month's time. If I can't remember if it's LTCM or not, I forgot what it was back then. That was in 98. Something happened in 97 too. Was the Russians, did they devalue in 97 or Russian default? I think it was a Russian default in 97. The Mexican peso was in 94, if memory serves. The Asian tigers, was that in 1999? I can't remember. But we had the Russian default. We had the long-term capital management, and we had the Asian tigers and the Mexican peso. And there's something else I can't remember. That was a 19% decline in a month's time, dude. I remember I was on the phones. I was starting my career at Vanguard, and people were scared like you would believe. You never know that, though, now, because look at the year. They ended up in the 30% range. It was up 30% in 1998. Yeah, just think, though, man. You just retired. You're down 19% in a month's time. You think in long-term capital management, you're like, dude, this is going to be contagion. Just like Silicon Valley Bank is contagion. You're like, I don't know if we can survive this. Because long-term capital management was literally the best and the brightest on Wall Street. Just ask them, they'll tell you. Black Scholes, John Merriweather, all these guys, best of the brightest, PhDs, Nobel Prize winners in economics, and they couldn't freaking, they got smoked and almost took down the whole system, and we bailed them out. I don't know, I can't remember how we did it, right? But it doesn't matter. And so when I hear people just disregarding the day-to-day fluctuations as if I can handle it, dude, when you're retired, man, it's a whole lot different than when you put money in. When you're putting money in, you don't care because you're buying at a lower value. When you're pulling money out and you don't have any more money coming in, it's like we're dealing with people who are living in a world basically created by NASA, essentially, fakery. We're saying, here's the world as it is. 11, it just goes up. Yeah, there's some fluctuations in there, but you got grit, guy. You got grit, man. We're baby boomers. We got grit. We went to the moon. And you're like, can you really handle that? Can you really? And the answer is no. The vast majority of us can't, because we don't know what the other side looks like. We don't know what's going to come from the other side. It's easy to say, yeah, well, the market, if you just would have stuck in there, you'd be fine. Dude, when you're retired and you got any more money coming in, that's all you got. And you're down 19% a month's time. You're not in a good place. You're scared poopless. And you're sitting there thinking, I'm going to protect the downside because I can't have this happen again. And then you missed on the upside. But you didn't know the upside was happening. This is the issue. Everyone just looks high. It's like my man said, Blaine, or whatever that guy's name was. Anyway, I had refi calls before. Okay. Anyway, yeah, what I'm saying. Or it's like The Economist. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Harry Truman. He wanted a one-arm economist, because economists say, look, Harry Truman, I know we got to deal with Henry Wallace and other commies in your administration, but maybe we can bring some Nazis over here and put them in NASA. And Harry Truman says, can you just tell me straight? Well, on the one hand, if you do this, but on the other hand, if you do that, Harry Truman said, I just want a one-handed economist, because they always have, if you do second hand, to say, well, if you do this, if you do that, on the other hand, if that happens. Anyway, so like this guy says, halfway down, they'd be saying, so far, so good. I was reading an article. Here's Prescott Lipe. I have a government pension while I move my TSP over Vanguard IRA. Brother, I hope that's not your real name, man. Don't post this crap if that's your real name. Don't do that, man. I was looking to buy VTI. So he's got a government pension. He's got 2.3 million as TSP. I was looking to buy VTI. So he's going heavy and aggressive. I mean, look at that. That's Vanguard's International Fund. That's VTI, and I don't know what VBR is. That's way too aggressive for me, man. I watched your video on home equity sharing with Unison. Have you reviewed any other companies that compare with them? I've not done, because that was a time I was actually thinking about doing it myself. I'm glad I did not. Turned out to be business was pretty good for the next couple of years for me. I might have to revisit that. No, I won't. I have enough liquidity now that even if I take a massive downturn, I'll be covered for probably until my youngest is out of this house, and then we'll just downsize. Yeah, what I'm saying. And even that was bad, Jill. I mean, I don't want to make light of what happened in 2022. We've never seen a bond market like we've seen. I mean, Jill being down 18%, that was bad. The worst we've ever seen. I cannot stress this enough, how bad the bond market was back then. It's insanity on steroids, dude. And I'm just telling you, it's not going to happen like that again. Inherently, it can't. Because it went from, I will say this till I'm blue in the face, and this is a difference between not knowing how logs work in terms of, so if you make a log, so basically what happens is you'll have this S&P 500 chart, Dow chart like this, and I probably, let me do it differently, and then we'll get out of here. Yeah, and basically what it looks like is you weren't making much money back here. You weren't making much money back here. But from 1982, man, you really took off. It's always from 1982 right here. That's when the growth really started. And that's not true, man. It's just not, because what happens if you log this as a percentage gain as opposed to actual dollar gain, if you log it, it's basically like this, straight and narrow. People don't understand the log stuff. They just look at the dollar gain and they say, I mean, don't forget, a market decline of 100 points today, that's nothing. 20 years ago, 100 points is a big market decline. I mean, just all there is to it. But no one cares 100 points today, because the Dow is what, 35,000 on it. That's where you got to understand how logs work, percentage-wise, proportionality. And people don't get this. They, look at, we made huge money in 1980. Yeah, you did make tons of money from 1982 to 1999. No one's going to deny that. You also made tons of money in bonds too, by the way. Remember, bonds don't compound, so it's fixed rate of interest. Oh man, well, they're assets. Obviously, we don't know Don here. You got any other liquidity? Yeah, I'm not sure I'd be tying up my money to cover a $300. I'm tying up my house, Don, to cover up a $300 interest payment. I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know your circumstance or who you are. I don't need to know who you are, but it's $300. I'm not sure I'd be. I don't know, man. So when I was looking at Unison, you don't have any other liquidity? You don't have like cash or anything like that, or bond fund, or even stocks? I assume you're working, Don? Speaking of which, I want to do another. Remember Kim? So I got all emotional because freaking Kim. We all remember Kim, who's long-standing people on this YouTube channel. We hadn't heard from her in a while. We're all like, "What the hell's happened to Kim?" Scared, dude. Just look at Rumble real quick. Okay, so yes to you are working, or yes to you have liquidity. Anyway, so we saw Kim, and she's back. She remarried, which is great, and it's very happy moment on Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel on Monday night, seeing Kim come back. I'm working. Okay, gotcha. You're working, but you don't have any other liquid accounts. Anyway, the point being with her is that we did a video with her and her husband live. It's great. It's great. So something like Don, that might be kind of fun to do, man. I mean, some people don't want to, get too, yeah, right. No, Don, that's no joke, Don, right there. But bills are getting higher than income. That's okay. Yeah, that's a challenge. Bills are getting higher than income. Can you downsize? Eesh. You see, this is the issue right here with inflation. This is why it actually, frankly, pisses me off when people say, you're saying there's no inflation. No, I'm not saying there's no inflation. I'm saying how they measure it is wrong. You got to measure it in your own personal inflation. It freaking drives me up the wall that people attribute this to me, that I said there's no inflation. I never said that. I never said that once. And yet people are like, dude, that's nuts. And so we have people who are relying on a lower cost of living. And now we have insane policies, which makes electricity prices go up, energy prices go up, which makes everything go up, and that things we consume. Which, why do they do that? Because they want us to consume freaking less. But to sit there and say to me, I said there's no inflation, and say, no, we're measuring it wrong if we use a CPI. Inflation should be measured on your own personal balance sheet or an income statement. How much you spend on food, how much you spend on freaking electricity, how much you spend here, how much you spend there. And then you use that inflation rate from what you've seen to increase, and you say, oh man, my inflation last year is 8-9%. It sucks. You're not going to use that as a long-term inflation retirement plan, though. You lose a lot of capital gains, right? Oh, so okay, so you got lots of equity. Interesting. Remember, you got 250. The first 250 is free of capital gains, and if you're married, the first 500. Just keep that in mind. So, old Don here, Don the do-gooder, She has lots of equity in her house. That's good. That's good, good, good. That's fantastic to hear. But her bills are starting to pile up. Please put the link for your uh, Monday night in notes. My last Monday night link. Is that what you're saying, Professor? Professor, what's his name? Professor, no, Inspector Gadget. All right, so Dawn's got a lot of equity. She has unrealized capital gains in her home, but her income isn't keeping up with the rising cost of goods. And she has a home equity line that has a higher interest rate as well. Oh yeah, right, the weekly. Yeah, right on, man. That's just there's no real link, Professor. You just got, I mean, because usually I don't even set up the stream until about an hour to 30 minutes before. But it's 8 p.m. Eastern every Monday. Actually, I very much enjoyed doing the not Sunday, the Saturday night stream too. That was fun with Brian Staveley. I might do my conspiracy videos on Saturday night. Well, that'd be kind of fun. Ooh, that's actually a good idea. Saturday night conspiracy live. Oh, stick to financial planning. It's boring. The world's fun. It's exciting out there. Yeah, where you came here, brother. Right on. How you got on here? That's how you do it. All right. So now let's go back to Donnie Do-Gooder. So Don says, I got equity in my home, which is fantastic, but my bills are piling up. I got a home equity line of credit, which is costing me money. How do I get around? How do I pay off that home equity line of credit? And I said, well, what if you downsize? Downsize is a pain in the ass. Not going to lie to you. I'm not saying there is a way to do downsize easily, especially if you got kids and all that stuff. But then she said she didn't want it because she has a lot of capital gains there. But remember, you can sell your home, and the first 250 or single is tax free of capital gain of unrealized gains. And the next 250 for marriage, so $500,000 is available to you tax free. Yeah, Rick, I'm okay with that. I talk about that a lot. I actually think the bond market is attractive, though. That's why I've been pushing heavy on bonds lately, because I just like after the market we had last year. I just think bonds have a lot more upside, frankly, than stocks do. But yeah, I got no problem with that whatsoever. So her issue is, how does she get by with this equity in her home that's not doing anything, that's actually costing her money, because she has a home equity line of credit that's the interest rate's going up, and she has this untapped equity. So Unison is where you can tap in some of your equity. And I can't remember exactly how it works. I did a video probably 4 years ago on that, but that's a tough one, man, because you're sitting there like, I need to be in my house, but my income isn't keeping up with the cost of being in this house. So the inherent obvious thing would be to sell and move someplace else, but that's not as easy to do. So back when I was starting out this business in 2018, we weren't making any money, dudes. Dude, I freaking love reverse mortgage. I'm doing when I hit 62, I'm doing a reverse mortgage. It's insane how many people are anti-reverse mortgage. In fact, I wish I could find that article I had from Vanguard. I printed it off about home is where the equity is, or home is where your wealth is, or something like that. I don't know why people don't look at reverse mortgages. That's weird to me. Well, they cost too much. Did you ever refinance? Yeah. No cost there. No, nothing. Didn't cost me a dime. Okay. Right. The bank just does it. They like you. Sure. Anyway, so going back to Dawn, she's got a dilemma, just where I was in 2018, where I could be in again if the business doesn't take off, or if it slows down, which it seems like it is. Business for a lot of people is slowing down, myself included. So you got a bunch of equity you're sitting on, but you can't tap into it till for a reverse mortgage to be federally insured is 62. To be non-federally insured, I think it's 55 is what Sergio said. I don't want a non-federally insured reverse mortgage. And you have to stay in your house because you got kids in school and all that, and you can't really downsize. Here, I can't downsize anybody. It's going to cost me more to downsize if I stay in this location. So I'm stuck. So I got this dead equity in my house, but I need income to pay the current bills I have. This is the issue. You got the asset, but you don't have the income. And a lot of people are going to be like, that's what scares us. That's what frankly scares me a lot about this heavy prepaying my mortgage debt, because I hate it with a passion. But I have enough liquidity that can cover me for a couple of years. But there was a time where I didn't have very much liquidity, if that makes sense. And that scared me, because like, oh, if things go south, I don't have that much liquidity. And I don't have my liquidity is not huge. I'm just telling you right now, but it would cover me for a couple of years. And it seems like a decent source of steady income from YouTube and clients and stuff that I think I have enough if things went real south. But if YouTube took me off, I'd be in a world of hurt. Dude. There's no two ways around that. And so I'm just trying to get by for the next 4 years until my youngest is at his house. And we're going to sell this puppy and cash in, man. No other way around that. But for the next 4 years, what happens? I could be in Don's position where my income isn't enough to pay my bills. And I still sit on a boatload of equity. It's not a good place to be. Now, luckily for me, John Gen X, because you're crushing today. Toss some money in TLT right now. Oh, dude, I can't tell you what to do, but man, I could be wrong. Just when you have a down market like we had last year, I don't know how people don't look at bonds and say, but bonds are going to get killed when the interest rates rise. Oh, that's already happened. Sean asks, I'm looking to retire in 4 years. Let's see what the 10-year treasury is doing. Man, I haven't eaten. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to lose some weight, dogs. So I haven't eaten. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to smoke a turkey tonight. We smoked a chicken last night. It was okay. Look at that 10-year treasury. Yeah. Down to 3.5. Sitting hovering at 3.5. Small rate height, says Jerome. No good Jerome Powell. What's the 10-year treasury? The 30-year? 3.675. I still can't believe this guy's griping about a 5% annuity when the 30 years at 3.6. Dude, you're getting 5% on a 5-year guaranteed account for 5 years. You could lock up your money in a 30-year treasury bond and get 3.675. That's a 33% less. Ooh, 33% less. Anyway, so Sean says 49 is basically 50-50. Yeah, I like that, dude. I can't tell you how to invest your money. Got to be clear. But I like that 100%. 50-50 across the board. Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, because, Sean, you look like you're a young man. You got a white beard. You look like you're a young guy. You're out there at the beach crushing, getting that vitamin D. Yeah, I bet Sean married up. I bet Sean's got a hot wife, dude. I bet he looks like he's a guy with married up, doesn't he? Old Sean there. Anyway, so he's got a good-looking wife to keep track of. So she'll have him moving around. He's going to be keeping the pounds off. He won't be getting all bitter watching Fox News or MSNBC. He's be out there getting that vitamin D, looking at the sun and the ocean out there. So Sean, yeah, dude. I mean, because he still needs some growth, like Jeremy said on the Rumble. He's still got to get some growth. Jeremy's freaking, yeah, Kim, right on. Who's 72K10? Who the hell is that, dude? Why not just save the extra? No, dude, perfect. So on I'm gonna put this 72K10 on Rumble. So this is 100%, dude. So here's the comment. That was 56. That was in Mexico. Gotcha. But did you marry up, Sean? Admit it. You married up. You promised your wife that you had lots of money. It turns out you didn't have that much, and she stuck with it because she's a good lady. You know it, Sean. So here's 72K, what he posts. This is a great question. Dude, I think about this all the time. Why not just save the extra principal payments until you can pay it off all at once, just in case this is the human emotion of paying. Makes me feel good. It's a dopamine rush to see my. She's a good lady. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure Sean is. He doesn't seem to be as finding this as funny as I thought it was. So maybe I'll take that back. Oof. All right, Sean. I'll walk with eggshells around you next time. Just goofing. Anyway, so going back to what my man said on Rumble is that I 100%. I'd love to stack cash, but the problem is when you stack cash and you wake up, you still see this debt. You're like, I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna go with God, man, and I'm hoping that God will make it worth. Well, I hope He will reward me favorably. I totally just goofing on you, Sean. It's all good. It's all good. But that's a risk, 100%, because that's what happened in 2000. When we got the 2008, the end of 2018, business slowed down quite a bit. The Q4 2018, and my wife and I had this discussion too. And I didn't have nearly as much equity in my home as I have now. and I didn't have any liquidity other than my retirement accounts. And and anyway, the point being was, I was like sitting there thinking, man, dude, I should have stacked cash. I should have stacked cash. And then, 2019 came around. It was back, with a golden ticket. But it was, I was sitting there thinking, man, when the economy turns, you don't know when it's going to turn back, if it will. And as such, you're like, when it turns back, you're like, dude, thank God it turned back. But if it doesn't, thank Yahweh, YHWH. Yeah, that's what we got to start saying. Yeshua. Why do they say Yeshua? Yeshua. I think it's Yeshua. Got to go back to some of the old Hebrew. Read the Hebrew translations. Actually, there's a guy, whatever. The New Testament, there's a guy called Mounts who you can. So I can show you guys. Anyway, so point being, what I was saying here, we'll get out here in a second. It's when you have. Yeah, what I'm saying. What I'm saying, Marie, and that's kind of where I was like, oh man, I just want to pay this guy off. Once my mortgage is paid off, dudes, I mean, it's just my cost of living is going to drop through the floor. I just don't need that much income. So it's kind of like, oh. But while I'm stacking cash, it feels good to have the cash, but you're still seeing this monstrosity called debt. You're like, oh. And then all you got to do is take one button, click, and the cash is gone and the debt is reduced by a set amount. So it's a challenge, man. It's a challenge. I don't know how people stack cash knowing they have full debt. I mean, I'm 52 years old, so I've been around the block a while, but I still got another 15 years of labor probably, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like I have to pay off the mortgage, but I hate it because I know that I can travel light when there's no debt. Right now, I'm traveling heavy, man, traveling hard because I got 4 kids still on my insurance, auto insurance. I still got a big house, I got a mortgage. But all right, so I'm going to end up with this right here. We're going to show you something. This is pretty interesting. I'm hoping he shows us the. Hold on just a second. Yeah, I sleep better without debt. Couple bond. Yeah, once I paid off and moved out of Fulton County. Yeah, but that's going back to what Dawn over there is. She's in a situation that worries me. Is you got all the equity, but your income isn't enough to pay your current bills, even though 3 to 5 years from now you're gonna be fine. You just gotta get by those 3 to 5 years, 100%, Rick. But that's the issue. You're like, oh. Yeah, it was 100%, Marie. You can always get a credit line. And I have a credit line, but I mean, I got lots of wiggle room on the credit line. Absolutely. So I want to do this guy, Jesus Words Only website, and he's got this thing where you can go on and find the Yeshua or something like that. You can find the translation on the Greek of the New Testament. Mounts. I'm not looking at it right. Oh man, let's see. Hold on a second. We can find further reading. Maybe it's here. Let's go here. Mounts. Now there's like a program on the mounts that he teaches you how to understand the Greek when it comes to your Bible. I thought that's pretty interesting. Let's go here. Try one more here, and if I don't get it, because I think the New Testament is pretty much Greek. Oh man, is that? Yeah. Where it was, man. Yeah, books reading books. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So we go to Bible Gateway real quick, then we'll get out of here. The Bible Gateway. Share this with you. All right, so remember Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's the Gospels, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So we're going to look at the mounts. Maybe I'm spelling it wrong. I thought it was, mounts right here. And it's pretty cool because what happens here in the mounts, there's a Greek right here, all underneath it. And Jesus answered them, saying, take care that no one leads you astray, for many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and they'll lead many astray. And you can see the Greek. I think that's fantastic. So basically Matthew is written in Hebrew, if memory serves, but the other is written in Greek for the most part. And obviously the Old Testament is different. It's good Paleo Hebrew, Aramaic, and but they call it Aramaic. They Paleo Hebrew, and it was I forgot the word for it. It was certainly wasn't Latin. It's a Latin. Jerome translated. But anyway, Paleo Hebrew, and it was Phoenician, I think is what it's called, if memory serves. And we don't know how to read Paleo Hebrew, and the New Hebrew is different than the Old Hebrew. But it'd be kind of interesting to, right here, mounts right there, mounts reverse into right there, absolutely, right there. Marie says, right on, Jennifer. Yeah, here's Jill. She stayed in the same house from '96 till now. I tell you, man, same house, same cars. It's always the same thing. That's all. If you've been staying in the same house with all that time. But Marie says the most important thing: stress goes down after mortgage is paid off. 100%. All right, last thing here. We'll get out of here. I'm retiring with a military pension of about $50K a year plus low-cost medical insurance. Military service is a great way to secure a good pension. Yeah, but we don't want to encourage people to go in the military anymore. They can all kiss my big fat behind. I'm not going to serve freaking Biden or freaking, I don't know about Trump, but I'm not going to serve Ukraine. Not going to serve Zelensky. My kids aren't going to go serve Zelensky. I'll tell you that right now. Hell no. Hell no, we won't go. We'll be out there protesting like the hippies in the 1960s. Hell no, we won't go. Not going to serve their freaking foreign escapades. And then the military all woke. Actually, some guy said it was actually interesting that the military, the army must be low on the recruiting because all of a sudden they're starting to focus on white men again. I said, oh, isn't that interesting? Because, basically the white men are the patriots, Southerners, rednecks, white trash, everyone hates men. And if they're starting to refocus on white men, they're trying to obviously get their, well, no, don't. But it's too late. Damage is done, man. The hell no, I'm going to let my kids go in. I mean, they can choose as men, they can choose it. But I'm like, dude, what are you going to do? You're going to go fight some other man's war? Nah, screw that. Didn't you learn by Afghanistan? I mean, you never had Vietnam. 58,007 died in Vietnam. We'll just pull out. No big deal. 58,007 deaths. Never mind how many people Agent Orange, life-threatening illnesses. They can all kiss my big fat behind. Oh, Afghanistan will be different. I fell for it. I was so freaking. I fell for the whole freaking thing. I got butchered by freaking idiot Bush. Ugh. Oh, big time, dude. Now it's the educational and industrial complex, which is what Eisenhower talked about, where he coined the term. Right on, John. Look at John. It's pink. Look at John down there in Florida. His pink shirt, his tan, sunglasses. Oh, dude, John's living his best life. All right, I'm going to get out of here, my friends. I'm going to put my turkey on the smoker. Shh, it's going to kick ass. I've been brining it for a long time. Oh, so Eli was in the Navy. Oh, now we know. Now we know. Where's my rainbows? Where's my rainbows? Oh, my goodness. Come on, that's funny. The Navy. Come on, man. Eli was in the Navy. So shalom. Just an FYI. Everyone in my family was Navy except for this guy. Everyone. My uncle was a commander. My granddad was a captain. My other uncle was a 03, something like that. My sister was an 03. My brother was in the Marine Corps as a grunt, just an enlisted guy like me. My uncle, my great uncle, Uncle Dick, yeah, Richard Deichmann, took out a Japanese battleship, the Chickamauga. Literally took him out. And my grandpa was a test pilot who flew with John Glenn. John Glenn or Yeager? I think it was John Glenn. He was in the same unit as John Glenn. But Dick Deichmann, Richard, I think it was him. He took out the Chickamauga, whatever it's called. And so that's actually pretty interesting. I should probably share that stories with you guys because we had a lady in our clan of Deichmans, which is German, had given us sent us all these books about the history of the Deichmann clan. It's actually really interesting, man. All right, yeah, 100%, Jill. Why would you? Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get this thing. I got 3 hours on the grill. On the 3 hours at 275 is what the guy on Traeger said to do on YouTube, and that guy wouldn't lie, except he had the Traeger guy on YouTube had to keep 6 feet away. Give me 6 feet is what he said on his video. He had a shirt that said, "Give me 6 feet." And he goes, "It's time to be very important to maintain our social distance." Like, dude, you fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, man. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. God bless. Thanks, guys. See you.